it on the recording.
Wait, I don't want to forget to do it.
Mhm.
Uh,
Thanks, my dear.
Want anything to drink? No, I'm good. Eating the water? Oh, all right. I'll
Yeah,
take water.
Don't take that. Thank you.
Hmm? Good, I'm glad you're happy with it. Get these in here. I'll just copy and paste from
Lean forward, Mom. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, we're on
Just
the
so
other
we
side of
stay
the wheel. Go that. Yay. Right. Thank you. Oh yeah, you wanna do the TikTok or whatever.
Thank you.
It's 5 minutes till you still wanna wait? Yeah.
You generally let them in sooner?
I let them in a couple minutes early usually, but you know, we don't have to if we're still, we only gotta give it a couple minutes. We'll give it a couple more minutes. There's 7 people in the waiting room. I love it. It's not like, oh, you miss me. Good evening, everyone.
You okay?
Hey, Red.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
You keep feeling better?
It little bit at a time. It keeps getting better.
Okay.
Yeah, I realized today I'm what it meant to do, it's done. And I'm grateful for that. But there's a piece of me that's like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like,
Oh, yeah, sure.
right? Like it's like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still hesitant to believe that it's really better. Because it is really
Right.
better, which is
Right,
awesome.
right.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, and I
Yeah, I
don't
can
realize
hear that.
because I can stand now. I couldn't stand. But what I find is I keep feeling like I have to sit down because that's what I've had to do for the last several years is like always sit
Oh,
down.
sure.
And
Right.
now it's like now I don't have to, but it feel like after a few minutes I have this feeling like, oh my God, I have to sit down. But when I check in with my body, I don't necessarily have to sit down. So I think it's gonna take my whole body a minute to catch up with the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to get into that pain. So your body's like, hey, let's go. Sit down.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, wait, no, wait a minute. That's not my body. That's my mind.
So hello, everybody. It looks like there's a lot of new people here. Finding me, Ms. Cougar Boots, Sarah, Ruff, Fairy, JV. Welcome to all of you. I'm excited. As always, I'm excited about this 1 hour of my week. Hi, everybody. So we're gonna stream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Okay. Let me
Hello,
put that
Ren.
in there.
Hey, Joshua, how are you?
Good, good. Here trying to navigate Technoville.
He's doing all the
Yeah,
technical.
right.
I'm putting the stuff in the chat. Yes. Hello, Barry. Hello, Sarah. Thank you for saying. There it is. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Let me get the other set of stuff in the chat, and then here we go. Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about love languages.
Mm.
I was like, who thought of that? Oh yeah, that's right, me. Because I think of all the topics until such a time as people start toxical, lucid Sid. Wow, hi everybody.
Hello,
Like
everyone.
a whole new wave of people coming in to say hi. Hello. Sorry, I was distracted by the managing the computer till everyone gets in.
Let's see. Okay. Ready. Boom. 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 Oh, it's like writing with my left hand. Except there we go.
Oh,
Does that
that
work?
helped. Yes, that totally helps.
Ooh.
I don't need to see me. I need to see everybody else. Perfect. And we can see whose hands are raised. Awesome.
Notes upon notes. Hi,
Notes on
everyone.
notes. Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello,
Hi,
Karen.
Karen.
Hi, you guys look great.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's the technical wizard over here.
I've been playing with this thing for like 4 hours, and I still haven't gone blind.
Did hair grow on your palms, your hands though?
Funny story. Funny story. I gotta call my brother. I gotta call my brother. So I was visiting. I had just gotten back from boot camp, and I was in the room with my brother, and I said, "Hey, I can't tell this story online. I can't tell it." All right, so I said, "Hey," I
Really,
go,
man? You're gonna start and start.
yeah, he's younger than me. So I was about 18 and 19, and he was maybe about 11 or 12. And I go, "Hey, Jeremy, you know, people who touch themselves get hair in the palm of their hand." And we were playing video games at the moment, and he puts his controller down. He goes, "No, they don't." I'm that big brother. I'm that big brother.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So it's 6:01. As always, we
Oh,
Russ,
really?
that kind of we don't hit people up like that here. So let's not do that. I would like to be able to keep you in the room, but not if you're gonna make comments like that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yay. So it's 6:02. People are showing up. Yes, you can leave your camera off. That's not a problem. I'm just checking. Okay. I'm checking in on all of you. Faithful Yours is here. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Ruff. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Hi, Madeline. Hi, Gary. Welcome. Danielle is here. Yay. There were a lot of people that signed up for this one on FET. I was really surprised. There was like 70 something people that signed up on FET to come to this.
Wow.
So
Cool.
we could have record breaking numbers today.
Wow. Wow.
I know, right? Here's
Awesome.
possible. All right. Once the regulars are all here, I'm like, we're good. Let's see. Okay. So let's see.
Hey, Gary, did you want your full name out there, or do you want to change it?
Yeah, I'll probably update it. Thank you.
All right, let's see. So what is it? Is it 6:04? So there's so many people here already. We'll go ahead and start. So tonight we're going to talk about love languages. And as always, I start out telling you my feel about it, and why I picked it, right? I had not heard of love languages. I knew nothing about this until within the last 4 years, since we moved, that I had ever heard of it. And part of the reason why it came up is because you and I were having some differences in terms of how we were relating. And you had said something to me about it. Well, like, what's your love language? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I had no idea that there even was such a thing. The person who named Dr. Gary Chapman is the person who's responsible for the book and the test online and whatever, just so we're giving credit due where credit's due. But essentially, there's a quiz that you can take online, and I put the link to that in the chat. I just want to make sure that I have it there. So if you've not ever done this quiz, you can, take a quick second, and I'm going to put just the link in the chat. You can do it. Doesn't take very long at all. And then, wait, hold on. Let me get that in the chat. Huh. There. Meeting room. Okay. So interestingly enough, there's 5 different love languages, and they are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, and acts of service, which I thought was fascinating because I had no idea that there was even such a way of looking at things, and that people had different ways. I think I'm guilty of what a lot of people are guilty of until you know better, which is, this is how I experience it. Don't you? Like,
Yeah.
if this is how I do something, doesn't everybody do it that way? And turns out, no, not everybody does do things the same way. So when I first did this test, I came up with acts of service was what turned out to be my love language. And the questions, they're forced choice questions. The quiz goes quick, and each thing is 2 sentences, and you have to pick which one is more true. And what was true for me during that period of time in my life was that I was doing a lot, I was responsible for a lot, and I wasn't getting a lot of help. At least that's how I felt. And so all of the questions that came up that went to, does your loved one help you out? Does your loved one step in and do a chore when they see how busy you are? And all of those things were like, wow, that would be amazing. And so oddly enough, when it came up, at the end, what it came up with was acts of service was my love language. And it was really interesting because most of the people in my circle, physical touch is their love language. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I love to snuggle, I love physical touch, but there are other things that say I love you to me at least as much, if not more, than physical touch, which was, I think, hard to take, because the other people in my world are also physically touch focused. They were like, what's the matter with you, Kat? Like, isn't physical touch like your love language too? And it's not necessarily. So when I did the test again today, I said, let me take it again today and see where I'm at, right? What came up for me this time was quality time. And what I found myself being responding to in the questions was, with life being so busy and there being so many demands, what I cherish and value the most are statements where things like, do you get to spend time with your partner when when you don't have anything else to do? Is it a value to you when your partner talks to you and puts their phone down? Like, anything that had to do with like quality time is what suddenly seemed like I really wanted. And so that's how it turned up. So the long story about this short is, I think how we respond, or what our love languages are, can be variable depending on what we currently have in our lives and what we could currently use more of in our lives. And that changes over time, right? It's not a static for our whole lives, right? And I don't think it's a static from relationship to relationship, right? Like, depending on what I am or am not getting from a particular person that I love and that I hope loves me back, would sort of tweak this little bit about like, what is a love language. And the whole point of it to me is, that it's effective in communication, that it's helpful to illuminate what's happening in the room and to bring like clarity and to bring positive change, right? So that's my little spiel for love languages for this evening.
I didn't mean to distract. I was moving my love language, salty chocolate chip cookies, off the table. So
Well, I didn't realize that this was your love language, although it could be. So, feel free to raise your hand. I don't know how many of you out there have any experience with love language. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I want to, as you were talking, I ended up writing absence of love language, right? Whatever the desire is, because there's a space needed for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I first heard about that, I don't know how long ago, but how they say a lot of male-bodied folks, their love language is touch because of such absence of touch from them growing up, right? And when I heard that, it was like a lot of it made sense. Affirmations were never a thing for me because it was almost like conditioned out of it. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, why do you need a reward or an affirmation in that case, right? So that was something that blocked off. Gift giving is very anxiety inducing because I'm not creative. So it's like when people give me gifts, my response to that is panic because I feel like I have to do something in return and now I have to think of a gift. And I mean, I don't retain anything, right? And it wasn't until just last year when I came up with the brilliant idea of why don't I give them photos of that I take of them, right? But for 44 years, it's been stressful.
But that came to you as like a relief.
Yeah.
You were like, "Oh, I finally thought of something," right?
Yeah, right. And then actually,
How do you feel? So receiving gifts, even if it comes from a loving place, doesn't feel loving to you.
it's not about it being loving. It's that on my side, I feel like I'm obligated to return it.
Mhm.
And the thought process of what do I give someone is
Yeah.
stressful.
Yeah.
And then acts of service is also mine. I love language. I love to show up and be useful and do whatever I can to make your life easier. Like
Yeah.
people ask, well, what makes you happy? And it's like, I like seeing your response to our experience. That's what makes me happy.
Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to settle into that with you, right?
Yeah.
This surgery in no small way has made me stand still and accept a lot more help than I ever have, and to let people do things for me in a way that I only paid lip service to before because I was essentially grounded, essentially medically unable to do anything. And that's an interesting place to be, to have to learn what is it like to let people help you.
You know what? Actually, I think receiving gifts, I'm getting better at. So if anyone's watching and they want to send me anything, listen, I'm here to receive gifts.
All right.
Megan, you have your hand up.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I kind of going along with what y'all are saying, especially in the last like 2 minutes. I think it's really important for people to understand when you're talking about love languages that it's not just the love languages that you want to receive, but also that the love languages that you want to give can be totally different. And I think sometimes, because I'm really into psychology, so I kind of, am in these circles more, and nobody really talks about that. It's always like what we want to receive from our partners, and it's not so much what we're able to give. So like, you may totally have gift giving as one of your higher ups, out of the 5, but receiving is like absolutely no. And so that can be a warm place for miscommunication in a relationship. So I think it's really important to think about those things and try and navigate them with a partner and let them know, like, it's not that you don't want to receive their gifts, it's just maybe you only want to give them. And maybe a gift they could give you is instead quality time.
Thank you, Megan. What's also helped with that is the conversation.
Yeah.
Is a person seeing how stressful it is for me and saying, is that okay? And then me saying, it is actually anxiety inducing, and them reiterating, listen, you don't have to get me anything. This is just from me to you. And it's taken consistency of that act and practice
Yeah.
for me to be able to come around to actually being able to receive gifts and saying thank you. And also what you said about love languages being different for different people, 100%. For me, quality time is much higher than physical touch because that's how our relationship is built. So I really appreciate you pointing that out because I've never put it in that language for some reason, but now I will. We have Well, Megan's had it. Who
Yeah,
else would
no.
like to share?
Oh,
Also,
no,
you-
I'm done. I'm on my way to take that down. Sorry about that.
We got you. I know there's stuff in the chat too. I was gonna say something. Yeah, I've always had trouble with gifts. I like to give gifts, but I don't want to have to give a gift. Right? Like I like to give gifts when I'm somewhere and I just see something and I'm like, this would be perfect for so and so. It doesn't have anything to do with like I hate to do like birthdays and like because I have to is stress and anxiety producing and I don't like doing it either. I totally get that. But I do like doing it when I find something. When I stumble upon that thing, it's like, oh my goodness, this would be perfect for so and so. Then I like doing it. It's fun. But since your big birthday those years ago,
Yeah.
I Joshua and I were not even,
When I turned 40,
yeah,
that was a big, actually, that was a really big deal because ultimately, I hated celebrating my birthday because one time when I was very young, no one showed up to my birthday. And it was like ever since then, I swore off any types of parties. And it was,
yeah, it was your 40th birthday. We hadn't even been together a year yet. I think I had heard you say something about, oh, I don't celebrate my birthday or I don't like to celebrate my birthday, but people say that all the time. And I didn't know you that well. And so I like, and this was self-indulgent because I went on a little bender that I wanted to go, right? So I got all of this like cool Master Joshua pens
Master
and
Joshua
we
pen.
sweatshirt. I got all this branded stuff. He had just been getting into, Master Joshua as a brand and the King Collective. We had just developed it. And so I got all of this cool stuff and we set up a whole big, it was a surprise party. You didn't even know. So I set
Wow.
up a surprise party and, Karma made those great big posters and people brought presents and it was really great. And only after it was done did he communicate very, very clearly to me, that was not fun. I didn't enjoy that. Don't do that again. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's very, because it's very unsettled.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I owe so much to so many people that it's like, how could I ever make up for it?
But that's but that's like self-worth. Like you don't have to make up anything to be worth it.
It's just not that easy.
It's so funny. It's like, because nobody looks at you and thinks you would have any self-worth issues.
And you know what? Maybe that's the counterbalance to, or the effect of the absence of affirmation for my whole youth,
Yeah.
right? It's like, well, here's gifts. Well, what did I do to receive this? And then being able to accept the fact that the person sees me that way, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother stressful experience. Kieran.
So, notwithstanding my love languages, what I used to do for my grandma's, my grandma was I planted like crazy amounts of tomatoes, and then I know with my ex-wife, I did a whole bunch of wildflowers and sunflowers. I did the seeds, and I'd be up every morning early watering. I'd be there in the evenings, and then we had these beautiful wildflowers and beautiful sunflowers. And she didn't really recognize it. So that was kind of like a gift and an act of service combined into one of giving. And I still think about that. I'm like, wow, you didn't really appreciate that I was actually doing that. And now, so I think with gift giving, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a physical gift like that. But the place that it was coming from when I was doing it was from a very deep, loving place. And so that was my gift.
Yeah.
But
I guess.
I don't like gifts either, so I feel like I owe somebody.
From the time I was young, my kind of gifts are to do things, right? Like my stepmother, I had a great deal of fun as a young teenager doing things for her. Like she told us stories I got a stepmother when I was 11 going on 12. And she would talk about how when she and her sister were growing up, she and her sister and her mom and her dad on a special Sunday would share, literally, I kid you not, a quarter pound of lox for the four of them. That's basically 1 ounce a piece, and
Oh my
bagels and
God.
all that stuff. And she spoke about it so like longingly. And my sister, my dad, and I, none of us had any use for smoked salmon for a lot. We were all like, oh, that sounds terrible. But so for one year for Mother's Day, I went to the bagel store and she talked about capers and onions, like this whole thing. She loved food. So I went and got her. I got her own quarter-pound of lox that she could have all by herself because we wouldn't eat it with her. And I set the whole thing up for Mother's Day. And I love doing that. And that was a thing for us for years, right? Where that was what Mother's Day was doing that. And so I like doing things, gifts that are like doing of things. And yeah, I've always been very food oriented. So a lot of my doing of gifts is about making meals or creating food things, since we have to eat anyway. People have to eat anyway, you know, a holiday. So there is that, as opposed to just going out and buying like the jewelry or, you know, some kind of a gift that's just an object. I like doing gifts that are more like an experience.
Yeah, you know, I realized just now, from when we left Deccan to when we got here, with all the pain you were in, our quality time dropped significantly because we couldn't go for our walk. And that was big.
Yeah. Yeah, this surgery is game changing. Toxical?
Hey, excuse the background noise. But yeah, I think for me, I'm super low on the gifts. Like I'm not really into gifts, but my understanding, at least with the test, is that it's referring to like material gifts. And I just don't like stuff. So that's why I don't like gifts, because you give this thing to me and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this now? Um, and where am I supposed to put it? Also, I don't really have a lot of money. So the expectation or the means required to buy stuff, it almost makes it seem like the relationship is dependent on how much money I have, when I, as a person, am half of a relationship. So I tend to favor more the quality time or words of affirmation, especially because I like to encourage people and I like to listen to people, and that's how I show up for people. So I think, in a sense, all of the love languages require generosity. So therefore, you can argue they're all gifts to some extent. But whether the gifts are material or immaterial, I think is the question.
I like that. That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, yeah. Phoenix?
Hey everybody. Sorry, excuse me because I just woke up. But on the topic of giving gifts and doing things, there was a period for a while that me and my friends would record like songs or albums even for friends as gifts. Like it started, I think, with mixtapes and giving. I don't know if that's not really a thing anymore, but mixtapes, mix CDs as gifts that didn't cost anything, but it had real meaning behind it because of songs that were chosen. And I guess that evolved eventually into like recording stuff for people. I think our most complete like musical projects were presents for people's birthdays. And it was a thing for a while. It doesn't cost anything, but it's the time that we put into doing things for others that was always appreciated.
That's cool. I remember doing that too. I remember music was big in my family growing up, right? And so, and my dad always had to be at the front end of technology, right? So we had 8-track players and cassette players, and then we had CD players, and we had all of the things. We even got a beta VHS at one point, like crazy stuff. But yeah, when they started burning CDs, when you could burn CDs, yeah, you could take your music that you really cared about or was really meaningful and make something to give to someone. And that's another version of gifts. I agree. Things that are not necessarily cost a lot of money but are thoughtful and specific to the person you're giving them to. Right? Like you can give a nice piece of jewelry to anybody, right? With some, details about what a particular person likes. But something like a CD full of music that you specially picked for them is very personalized. And I think personalized gifts are more meaningful, especially
Or
if they're
specifically wrote for them even.
well, yeah, I mean that assumes you can write music. Not all of us can do that.
Can we jump into some of the
Yeah, is there a bunch of hot stuff?
Miss Cougar Boots says, being in a wheelchair, I'm unable to do a lot of things to physically support the local dungeon. They do have an Amazon wish list and toilet paper is appreciated. Yes, listen, yes, Yes, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Austin, thank you for the comments, compliments. Once the obligation to do so is there, it's no longer fun. Yeah,
That's the gift giving, right?
yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think any of this stuff, like anything that feels like an obligation is not fun when it comes to like, if I want to love you, if I want to express love for you, I want it to be able to come from a free place and not from a place where I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise it's like, you know, obligatory love feels a little strange to me.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
So do you want to hit one of the questions?
Sure. Let's see. So, have you identified your primary love language? How did you discover it, and how does it manifest in your relationship?
So, have you identified your primary? Yeah, I mean, it's like we stated just before, it varies between who it is. So my primary love language with a person shifts depending on who the person is. How did I discover it? One, understanding what they are,
Right.
right? So when you discover that these are things, it's like, oh wow, there's something, it's called something, right? Something feels right, something feels something feels yummy, something feels icky,
Yeah.
right? And it's like I learned this one yesterday with Evie.
Yummy and icky.
Yummy and icky, right? Whatever feels yummy in the body is what I'm aiming for. Whatever I feel icky in the body is like, right? But it makes fucking sense. Actually, that's going into mid-piece. But we'll talk about that
Slow
later.
down.
We'll talk about that.
Slow down there.
And how does it manifest in the relationship? I think, as you stated, is the absence of.
Is how you begin to become aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And to see that this
It's almost
is more
like a
meaning.
long.
Yeah.
When you long for something, that becomes something more like what you want to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Madeline?
You're on mute, honey.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I had a similar situation as Kat where I like discovered what love languages were, was having some conflict in a relationship and was asked like what my love languages are. I hadn't heard of it, so I Googled it. I didn't get the quiz, which might have made this go a bit better. And I looked at them and I was like, this is not me. Like my love languages are like alone time and personal space. Which was not received well. But I guess I think in retrospect and like more recently I can see that that is more of like a trauma response, I think. Like the states that like I am like my body knows that like I'm safe in. And I think that's not fair to myself. So I'm trying to like actually think about it now. And I've noticed that like alone time and personal space is like the opposite of quality time and physical touch. So that's something that I'm currently exploring.
Cool. In all fairness, though, one of the things that I have found myself saying to you is I miss time where we can just be together and do nothing. Right. So there's something about, I mean, I don't know that it's exactly alone time like you're talking about it, but there is some, for me, there's value to just being able to be coexist in space together and not even have to interact necessarily. Like you do your computer game, I'll sit, but we're sharing space.
I'm 45. I don't play video games.
It's one of the funniest things ever. It's
Yeah.
it's entertaining to no end watching him play.
The
video
way I
games.
talk trash
They
is
are
so entertaining.
really funny. But yeah, but it's like it's now as busy as we are with all the different relationships and all the everything, it's like there's a luxury involved with being able to just spend quiet time together and and not have to do anything.
All right. So stop your soul right away. You get the bump to the top of the line. God damn it. Has anyone considered what their love language is to themselves? Madeline's comment made me think about. Wow. Comment of the day. That's incredible. Yes. So I'm gonna leave that there. Toxico, I know your hand was up.
Was that my cue to talk?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, in response to Madeline's thing, it sounded like, not trying to type her, but I'm an introvert, so it very much uh, resonates with me. I think, I mean, I'm single, okay, so I don't really have a relationship context, but I think there is something to be said for someone giving you space in a relationship. So like it's possible that you can maybe be in the same room or in a car and not have to talk all the time. But there's also something about, not having to be together all the time and still feel valid as a couple. So I mean, that could be a gift a partner could give you is quality time to yourself if you need that to recharge potentially.
Chocolate, where are you from? And can you come be my best friend? Dude, thank you. Wow, that's yes.
I'm from Virginia.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Solid piece. And it happens. It happens exactly that way. So as we were talking about this, I'm looking at that, and it's like space from touch,
Mhm.
right? As a gift, like I need to not be touched.
That's maybe the first time I've ever heard you say that.
No. That's not me. This is
Oh.
like the opposite
Oh,
of.
someone else.
Well, actually,
I'm like, when have you ever said that?
when I'm done with sessions and scenes.
Yes, that was what I was
Right.
thinking.
That's and what is our love language to ourselves? Is aftercare, self-care. Sorry, self-care.
Right.
And
And
it's
for
like,
you, that is self-care, right? Because people don't think of that, like that. Nobody ever thinks that you ever need like quiet alone time,
yeah.
and sometimes even you do.
The other thing was self-affirmation, but like for the first time I experienced it, or at least in a long time, Sunday when we finished our 8-week rope
Mhm.
from self-tying to the suspension course, I felt sad that it was over. Like we just spent 2 months with each other, and then it was done. And it was like I felt proud of what everyone did and what we were able to put together in that time. And that was like that self-affirmation. I've never said that to myself. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of what we did, and that's like,
Now you did on Sunday. You said
Yeah.
exactly that, and you have every right to be in reason.
so I guess that these are all forms of self-care and self-affirmations and acknowledgement. Thank you for sharing that, Madeline and Toxic. Phoenix.
I was gonna say what you were just saying about the rope share is kind of the feeling you get after like a play or something where everybody puts in the work and then suddenly it's over and we all part ways and then we either never speak to each other again or make real lifelong friends. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Performing arts has that thing about
Yeah.
it. Like community theater and stuff like that. You're so intensely involved with people in a very artistic way for weeks, and then
Yeah,
you're right.
it's a period.
Like, see ya.
Thankfully, there's a contingency plan, but we'll do that shameless self-promoting at the end.
Amen. Well,
There's a lot of great comments in there.
I always feel like I'm missing half of the chat because I can't look at the chat while we're doing the call.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great comments going on. Would anyone else like to jump on and share?
Here's another question. Why
Here
don't
we
do
go.
that?
Here we go.
How do love languages play a role in conflict
Oh, I
resolution?
do. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I just
Sarah.
don't know how to put my hand up. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Thank you. Thank you.
Go.
One sec. I don't know how to get back. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get back to this. Okay, I got it. So I've actually been married for 4 years and been with my husband for 10. And at the beginning of our relationship, it was very much, touch, physical touch, love language, affirmation. But then as we grew up, his actually changed to mainly just, acts of service and affirmation and time, spending time together. And it was a really hard adjustment for me because I am I'm just so touchy-feely. My love language is definitely touch. And it took me a long time, but it's what was really nice where he would be like, what do you need from me? And I'd be like, I need you to give me a little more touch. You know, I know yours isn't really that, but he makes it a point to do that for me, and vice versa. You know, what he needs, I do for him now. So it's really nice how we worked together to do that, and that has opened up our communication so much more. So it's been great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really great, because I think what was really eye-opening for me about learning about these and then finding out that you and I had different love languages, different primary love languages, because it had never occurred to me before that like I could give you what made you feel loved, and that you could give me what made me feel loved, and they didn't have to be the same thing. And that was like a new concept to me, but really helpful. It was almost like somebody giving me like a guide, like the secret insider handshake to like figure something out. Like that's what that felt like.
It reminds me of when someone asks, can I help? And it's the way they want to help versus the way you need help,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yes.
the same math formula
Yes.
around that. Cosmo?
I was just gonna say, going off of that, it sounds like the biggest issue would be with like compatibility would be if you really hate giving someone whatever like their love language is. So for example, if someone's love language was like touch and you were like, I hate this, that would be probably difficult. Also I dropped a link in the chat for the neurodivergent love languages again. Because I feel like that kind of goes with this conversation.
When are you coming to New York to teach?
Whoa, what was that?
I said, when are you coming to New York to teach?
Oh.
You have a standing invitation to come and teach whatever you want, just so you know.
Yeah, when I can afford to travel to New York.
Did we mention the neurodivergent love languages yet?
No.
Or was that, could you share that?
I can go through them. So they're support swapping, info dumping, parallel play, deep pressure, and penguin pebbling. So support swapping is just like, I kind of like to think of it almost as like bartering, like skills or resources. Like I'll do this thing for you that maybe like I have the capacity or the skill or the knowledge to do. And you can do something else like for me. And then yeah, info dumping is self-explanatory. Parallel
Actually,
No, please.
it's not, because info dumping doesn't sound like a love language to me, to anyone. Like that doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, share it, please. I'm very interested because support swapping is absolutely something I do.
I mean, it can really just be like someone getting really like excited about something and sharing a bunch of information about, like, for example, I tend to talk a lot about dogs, and like when I'm on the topic of dogs, I can just like talk and talk and talk to the point where I can kind of like lose myself a little bit and then be like, oh shit, like here I am 30 minutes later, still fucking talking about dogs.
So is the love language the person holding space for you to talk about it?
That's actually
Okay.
That's a good question. I think it's yeah, I mean I think it's like yeah, basically yeah, that is kind of like my entire, actually no, I would say River, well, yes, a little bit of info dumping, but a lot of pebbling. I think yeah, like holding space for someone that's like info dumping, but also like engaging in that like whatever it is that they're like interested in. Parallel play, I think like body doubling would go under this, where you're like spending time with a person, but you're not necessarily like directly interacting with them. So it could be like playing like a video game together, or it could be like, hey, I need to like focus on finishing my work. Can you just like sit and be in the space like next to me? And like exist. And then yeah, deep pressure is deep pressure. And then pebbling is like
Is is deep pressure have to do with physical touch and like
Like
crushing and
compression?
swaddling?
yes, like squeezing the shit out of someone. It's also like my dog does like deep pressure therapy. So she's trained to like I'll lay on my back and she'll climb on top of me and like lay down. And it can like basically prevent a panic attack. Or I feel like it can like prevent a panic attack from like as it's like coming on. But it's like a what is it called? Vagus nerve stimulation. That's what it is. And then the last one is penguin pebbling. So they got the term from like penguins that bring each other like pebbles as a way of trying to like impress a mate. And it can be like sharing resources. Like that's what I do all the time. I'm like, hey, I saw this like class that you might be interested in. Here's a link. Or like, hey, this article I read made me think of you. Here you go. It's kind of like a way of saying like, this thing made me think of you. Or this is something I think you might enjoy. But it can also just be like sending someone memes. Like if you think that that's what they're into.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
I will be integrating this.
Right?
Yeah, very informative, very
Yeah,
informative.
awesome.
Britt, welcome, Britt.
Okay, I'm on a headset. Can you guys hear me okay? Is that all right? All right, cool. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's so me. Literally as a child, like I was maybe some other neurodivergent people out there were like me, and I was into rocks. So literally when you talk about the pebbling, it is literally the penguins, how they gift rocks to their life mates, and they come and bring rocks at their feet, and that's how they show their love. It's literally, I would walk around with stones in my pocket all the time, and I'd just be like, here's a rock to the people I wanted to talk to or hang out with, or I had special interests with. But yeah, the info dumping is like your special interest. It's like it's something you care about very much, so you want to share it with the person that you love. And we do all of the above. And my partnership, we definitely like all of those are our love languages, except for me. I'm not into the physical touch, but my partner is very much into the deep pressure. So do you guys remember, this was ages ago, but you guys remember the trend of planking, where people would just lay on random objects in public and take a picture of themselves? That's literally like the kind of deep pressure. And we're very matter of fact about it, just like, hey, I could really use this from you today. Okay, great. But we call it baby crocodile, because you know how like the baby crocodiles just kind of lay on the back with their little legs dangling on the sides. That's literally what we do. And it's just like a safety and comfort thing. Like a lot of people on the spectrum like weighted vests and blankets and things because it gives that kind of deep pressure stimulation. So that's something you can also do for yourself in the case that you don't have a partner that is into that. There are a lot of tactile blankets, some heated things, weighted things that can help give you that kind of comfort in the case that you don't have it.
Thank you,
But
Britt.
I love you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that link, because I love going over those.
Thank you so much, Erlene.
Hey y'all. Yeah, I remember when I found out about like I guess, the neurotypical love language. And I was just like, I kind of relate, but also don't relate to any of them, in a sense. And then I found out about the neurodivergent love language, and I was like, oh, all of that's me. Like, I used to hold like PowerPoint presentations with like my best friends. And originally I remember being like, oh, I'm being a little bit too much and I'm oversharing. And I didn't realize that was a love language. And I used to start every like rant with like, I'm so sorry, but, and then 30 minutes later, I'm still talking about a particular topic. And then definitely with like deep pressure, I used to be like, oh, if you can just like, you think you're doing too much, you're not doing too much. I don't think we found the limit of what too much is for me. Just all the pressure, please. And I remember feeling really weird, and I was just like, oh, I don't know what it is. And then I found that article about neurodivergent love languages, and I was like, oh, okay, yes, I felt so seen. And particularly with like penguin pebbling, because it would just be like walking around, it's, oh, I just thought of you. And just like, my best friend and I have we both work together, and we have like at our desk we have a shelf of things, so we just happen to get each other when we were walking down the street and see each other. And I remember that being such a relief, because it helped me kind of like understand how I express love or what I need for love. And it also helped me recognize more like of when I'm masking and stuff, because if I'm just like, this is a new person, how do I connect with them? Do I want, once I decide if I do want to connect with them, how do I connect with them? And I tend to go to like a masking thing, because I was like, this is kind of the love languages everybody goes through or recognizes, or neurotypical people recognizes. And then once one of my friends was just like, no, I'm a weirdo like you. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And so that's just also like kind of something I've started to really value. And conversely, I also see like when I'm self-sabotaging, kind of like what I deprive myself as. I've learned to kind of, so like for instance, with like neurodumping, it's something that like, oh, I really want to share, or I know something, if I'm depriving myself of it, or I'm depriving the experience, it's kind of a way that I've learned that like I'm self-sabotaging or punishing myself, and kind of recognizing that, kind of going back to the question of self-love, like trying not to self-sabotage in those ways of depriving myself of my love language.
I have to ask a question at this point. The info, what is it called, dumping?
Mhm.
What I saw in myself, and I don't know if this is right, which is why I'm asking. There are times where I get super excited about something and I want to share it. And I can relate to that whole, like, I could go on for half an hour about it. And I can also relate to the idea that it's born out of, I want to share it with you.
Mhm.
So is that what we're talking about? Like your motivation to share like that is because it's the type of showing of love or affection for the person you're wanting to share it all with, even if it's a half-hour rant.
I think that's just excitement.
Yeah, for me it is. It's definitely like, you're this person that makes me happy, and I want to share this thing that makes me happy with you. It's like that kind of like moment of connection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I realized that like inside myself, there is two places. One is a TMI thing. And I feel that like that compulsion to have to share too much. But some of it is this other thing where it's like, I just am excited about something and I want to share it with a person who I care about. And that's a different thing. It's a different place. So thank you for that insight.
Cosmo?
I think it can go both ways. So like, for example, there was this one person that I was seeing for a bit. And I like, this was like before I knew that I was neurodivergent, and in like, now that knowing what I know now, I'm like, oh my God, this guy was definitely like neurodivergent and like just not aware. But he was like super into poker. And I like don't actually give a shit about like learning how to play poker, or like it's not like a skill that I'm like just dying to acquire, right? But because he was so good at it and like really interested in it and like um all of that, like I was like, "Oh, tell me about this." So it's like I recognized that it was like something that like he was really interested in and was like, "Tell me all about this." And he would just like spend forever talking about it. So I think it can also be like a way of connecting with a person, trying to like understand what they're interested in, even if you recognize it as something that like this is never going to be a fucking hobby of mine. Like, but like, let me try and like understand this thing that this, you know, person I'm with, or spending time with or whatever is into, as a way of like trying to kind of like understand them a little bit better.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I have an amazing comment that came in on TikTok, and it says, "My parents argued every day. I found bickering and arguing to be a sign of love. Took years to fix." That's pretty intense. Kyle, thank you for sharing that. That's a hell of a perspective or a reframing to have to do,
Yeah,
right? And
no
then like,
doubt.
how does a person embody that themselves?
Yeah. Well, because you get out into the world and you realize that like people don't.
It's like my thing with affirmations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly like my thing with affirmations. This is what I saw, this is what I was conditioned to. And so outside it was like all new to me.
Yeah.
And then like, holy shit, and like I'm missing a piece.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Wow.
I think that
Thank you,
that's
Kyle.
true for a lot of when we're brought up in families where the family itself does something that's a little bit off for whatever way. I can use my family case. Um, in my family, we did triangular communication to the degree that if I wanted to know what was going on with you, I would go talk to your brother. I
Yeah,
wouldn't come to
yeah.
you. And that's how we did everything in my family. Like you didn't ever talk to a person directly. You went and talked to someone else to find out what was going on with them. I thought that was normal. And then like way later, fast forward, I'm in adulthood. I'm like, you know, in my early 30s, and someone like gives me the heads up that, you know, when you talk about people who aren't in the room, that's called gossip. And we don't do that. And I was like, you could have blown me over with a feather. It was what I knew. It was all that I knew. And I thought everybody did it like that.
Wow. There's another one that said, been through the same argue thing too. My parents fought all the time, and now I love to argue. And I had a partner who hated it and always shut down immediately. It was so hard to find love with someone who didn't want to fight. Right. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I had a mentor once who used to say that I'll put it in the first person. I have the right to be whoever I want to be, as long as I'm willing to be responsible for whatever that is. So if I want to be a partner and my love language is to argue, and that's what feels good to me, I don't have to change that, but I just have to be responsible for it, right? Which means not every partner is going to be the right partner for me, right? Like not every relationship will work out like that. Or I may end up in a relationship where I have to give a certain degree of compromise around that. But I don't have to be wrong. Like we don't have to be wrong just because we do something that's a little bit different than how other people do it. We just have to be responsible for like the consequences of our actions or our decisions. But as long as I've thought about it and I'm good with who I am and I'm good with the consequences in the outside world, I can be whoever I want to be. And that was very liberating to me when I discovered that the responsibility that comes with being whoever it is, the person you want to be, and knowing that it's okay as long as I can deal with the consequences.
In my mind, I grew up to understand that arguing meant you still cared. When the fighting stopped, the love was gone.
Wow.
Wow. And for Franklin and Kyle for sharing, that hits hard. Some people do fight as a love language, And then the follow-up with Cosmo, I love you for this. Also, what kind of arguing? Are we like academically debating stuff? I'm down for that. Capitulation is never fun.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good point. Like intellectual argument, like when we're talking about like logical argument and like academic stuff, I do think is fun.
Yeah, be able to have a conversation, because I want to
It's
be
a
able to have a
conversation.
conversation where we aren't agreeing on.
Right, we're able to disagree, but we have a way of doing that that's not personally harmful. Like it's not fair for me to make you wrong because you don't agree with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
You just have a difference of opinion and we can agree to that, right? And it doesn't have to get personal, you know, the fighting doesn't have to get below the belt.
I need this a sign that I hold up that says I'm always right.
So that we can all, so that's their cue to all giggle.
And everyone applauds, laughs, right? We have 5 minutes left, Mama.
Oh, no, really?
5 minutes left. What would you like to do?
Well, 5 minutes. Usually we start to wrap. Is anybody who hasn't shared? Danielle, I swear you had your hand up.
There was one more comment just said, I just asked my partner if he enjoys fighting. I do not. Discussion is healthy. Fighting is not so much. Thank you, Jennifer. Sorry, was there a hand up?
Yeah, Danielle had her hand up. I swear I saw it.
I did. I was going to say that coming from a family, from my parents, like watching my parents fight all the time. When I finally ventured out into any sort of relationships, even friendships, like I knew that was not right. And that's not the way it was supposed to be. But it was like figuring out what the other option is that was totally missing. So there was no like, yes, they were fighting all the time, so what's the opposite of this? Like, what is normal? And I realized it was never around me. Normal was never like, I have normal because I was like, everything they are fucking not. I am going for the gusto here, everything they're not. And I feel like this is normal and what they had is fucking bonkers. But it took a long time to figure out what the opposite of what they are is.
Yeah. I can relate to that when you've only been shown one thing and you're pretty sure it's not right, but in the absence of any other role model, like what do? I hear that. That's not always easy to fill in that blank.
Yeah. Awesome. There's been incredible.
And also my love language is like everything praise and everything like that. It's all of it. I feel like my love language is all primarily everything. Like make the fanfare about me. Although at my 40th birthday party, gifts are hard to receive. I love giving gifts so much. Like anything, everything. I love giving gifts, but receiving them, I go into panic because I'm like, oh my God, am I ever going to top this gift? Are they ever going to feel like the way this gift is going to make me feel? Like I go into panic mode. But I'm a good gift giver too. And I'm thoughtful as fuck. I know I am.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. And we have JV. JV.
Hello. Just wanted to throw something out. Maybe this whole thing about the love languages, and that reminded me of something. Most everyone is familiar with the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And somewhere I met someone who said, well, there's something even better than that. And they called it the platinum rule. And that is do unto others as they would like you to have them do unto them. If I said that right.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what we're talking about here tonight, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, I started out by saying that like I thought everyone responded to these things the way I did, but the truth is this whole discussion and thing points out that we're not all the same, right? And I'd much rather be loved the way I want to be loved, and I want to love you the way you want to be loved. And so it's not a golden rule thing. It's not a do unto others as you do unto yourself.
So I got it. I got it.
So here
I'm gonna
comes the
info
math.
dump for about 30 seconds. All right. So when you do the yes, no, maybe, the people I tell people when the rule I tell people when going through the yes, no, maybe is yes, I'm into this. I'm curious about this, and no, I'm not into that. What you do is you take this no and you ask yourself, how do I find this accessible? Under what circumstances can I get the no to maybe? Morals conflicting aside, right? Because there's things out there that we don't have enough information on So we seem averse to it, like punching, for example. No, don't punch me in the face. But if you had a massage before, this feels great. This is punching because it's a closed fist. And we talk about that because it triggers for history of DV. All right. So now, love language. Yes, I'm into this. Sometimes I'm into that. And no, I'm not into that. Well, how do we make that no excessive? Gift giving. For example, I had to get creative. If as a photographer, I can give you my art that I took of you, right? So how do we make the no's assessment?
I like that. I like that.
That's my 2 cents for the day.
Well,
Later,
okay,
everyone.
Okay, bye. Thanks. Oh. Sorry, TikTok. Okay, so it's just about the top of the hour. Yes, personality.com has a 7. I did see that there was a 7 love language test on there. I went with the 5 because that was the one that I knew, but I am going to research that too because I want to know what the other 2 ones are that, that weren't on there. So do you want to talk about?
Sure. What we're doing is a mentorship program that's based on 26-week program where every week we get together for a period of time where we discuss our kink identity and our spiritual identity, self-worth, self-value, things like that. And over this period of time, what we're doing is we're sitting with pods of folks who are also looking to dive into themselves and develop their relationship with identity and the relationship with their sexual identity journey to be more empowered and advocates. If you've ever taken the Connection Simplified program that we do, which we're actually doing online when April
I want to say 19th.
April 19th.
19th, yeah.
It's a 4-hour block, 3 or 4 hours.
I think we decided on 4.
4-hour block where we get together and through communication, through introspection at first, we get together in this group of other folks who are looking to get a deep dive into themselves and understanding and share with folks who we are authentically. Because that's the hardest thing to access is who am I authentically and how can I share it without being afraid of being vulnerable? That's what this program is for. It's built around introspection, around belief, identity. How did you get here? Where do you want to go? And you share this among others who are learning and seeking to do the same for themselves. So that you all have the same intentions and purposes and directions in what it means to reflect and be vulnerable. Because not everyone's on the same page. But to find a space where we can all be on the same page is what we want to do and what we've been in the process of creating for the last 4 years. And it's come to this point of a larger mentorship program where people come in and we sit and we talk and we share.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of validation in it. There's a lot of, wow, I thought I was the only one, which is extremely game changing when you realize that there's so much more we have in common with everyday people than we don't.
Yes.
And it really changes the way.
With people we've never even met before, with people who we're by the outside. If I look at you from the outside, I am sure that I will have nothing in common with you, right? Because I judge. And then we find that we have everything in common. Enough to get it. You're a person, I'm a person, and oh my goodness, look at all these things that we relate to that I never would have imagined because we don't take the time to sit and have these conversations with ourselves or with others.
Or with others to process, because processing doesn't happen in the brain. So we're gonna have the categories, the schedule put out, the curriculum put out in the next week. But we cover topics like power exchange, energy exchange, dominance, submission, self-worth, self-value, relationship with identity, relationship with touch. And it's a really fleshed out process. By the end of the process, to have the self-awareness is to be able to be authentic. And that's all we're trying to access in this life is authenticity and connection. But we'll have more information on that soon. So sometimes what we do is we upload the videos to YouTube. The question is, what do you do with the recordings of the meeting? We sometimes we upload them to YouTube. We were talking about having them on our website so that people can come in and observe the conversation, because there's a lot of people who need to hear what is being shared. So that's generally what our intention is when we record these, is to hopefully have other people out there who see it and say, wow, I'm not the only one.
Yeah. So we're
And we live stream yes on TikTok.
on TikTok, right? So yeah, so if this program sounds interesting to you, you can hit us up. We're collecting names, and as soon as we're at the threshold for launch for enough people, we're gonna get it underway. Like,
Oh yeah, that's right. Duh.
very quickly. Like we're on the precipice of getting it started.
We're starting with our first 10 and we're up to 6, I believe.
Yeah.
So if that's of interest, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, let us know. And yeah, and I think I saw a thing. No, it's not on FET yet. It's not posted anywhere yet. Basically, you're getting it live here. And yeah, and so it's going to be a really exciting program. I'm excited about it.
Awesome.
So next week's topic is the intersection of spirituality, religion, and philosophy. It'll be a heady intellectual discussion. Or we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, I like the idea of looking at those three things in conjunction with one another. So that's what we're going to do. And of course, tonight at 9 o'clock, we have Uncovered Conversations, the panel of heads of household and lifestyle dominance who take their covers off for an hour and chat with each other on the live feed.
We're doing Q&A tonight, so it's open to everyone.
We're doing Ask the Panel Anything.
Anything.
Right. So anything you want to hear the panel talk about, you're welcome to ask. And
even what that means.
Even what that means. So yeah, so that's going to be an exciting hour tonight from 9 to 10. And yeah, so we're actually over. We're over. And so we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Toxical, if you had any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. As well as Cosmo. I just want to make sure that we were able to bring that conversation full circle.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.